All right, folks. We are back with a nice meaty 27 people. Let's go. I am hot off the recovery from the Ebola. I read up on incubation periods and everything, and I still think it was that little old lady that I sat next to that got me. I was got sick on Tuesday, presented on Wednesday, crushed it. Thursday, kind of okay. Friday died. Saturday was totally death. Sunday, totally death. But I'm back, baby. Rejuvenated. Memorial Day, flying the flag, feeling good, following Saunders' vicarious adventures in California. He's renting out mansions, whatever. That's how we do it here. But aside from Saunders' amazing hair and mansions, I have the king of the Sunday Dink Club,
What's
the
up?
best PM on the planet, the smartest marketer in South Carolina, Logan Well Wrangler Brown, who will also be attending. If you guys got the invite for the Blue Whale group, Logan will actually be in person, so you can pick his brain, jam with him. He's actually an incredibly wonderful human in person as well. So be on the lookout for that. We got the Chicago Roadshow. So if you are in the Midwest, please join us there. Road shows are super fun. Kevin will be out there with crew. That'll be amazing. And then I have some housekeeping stuff. Do you want me to go through that now, or do you want to do, because we have actually, I had to twist AJ's arm, but he actually gave us the green light. We have this huge drop of a bunch of cool new features, upgrades, updates, etc. We're supposed to be on embargo, but it's the Whale Webby. You guys join, so you guys, we get to spill the tea. Are you ready to spill tea yet, Logan, or you want me to go through some housekeeping stuff first?
Yeah, go for it. Go through housekeeping stuff, and I'll pull up the app and kind of show some things off. It's
Oh,
yeah, all
gangster.
good.
I love it. A few things. There was Notion. You guys know I'm a big Notion maxi. Notion just launched a crazy new update for their project management system that they're building into Notion, which is really cool. I can actually drop the link in there for you guys. Very bullish on this. Is there any other big Notion users in the chat? Oh, also, I totally buried the lead. If you need anything answered, toss it in the questions or the chat. Do we have any questions already pre-prime, Sonder? Not
Let me
today.
check.
Okay. But we are here for you guys. So make sure that we answer all and any of your questions. The Mid-Journey stuff's getting really crazy. I don't know if you guys played with that. That was pretty nuts. There's actually a cool thread. I'll drop it as well. I'm playing around with camera lenses. Let's go, Robert. Let's go. Notion Maxi. Love me some Notion. I actually got it successfully implemented here at Triple Well. That's one of my enduring legacies. So this will be in the Whale Mail tomorrow. But if you guys haven't listened to the new acquired FM, it is sensational. It's about Lockheed Martin, and they go into a bunch of crazy things. One of them being the SR-71, the Blackbird, incredible airplane, and it was the I won't give away the lead, but or Barry or what am I trying to say? Spoiler. I won't give any spoilers, but it's a sensational listen. If you haven't listened to that podcast before, also check out the LVMH episode. Really incredible. One of the craziest tidbits though is the Blackbird is closer to the Wright brothers flying than it is today, and it's still the fastest, has the highest ceiling, and still the fastest aircraft ever made. And this is in the '60s, so pretty crazy there. What else do I
Really?
got? Oh, dude, it's one of my, it's like my love language, and he kind of broke my brain because, and Sandra, you're into all this kind of machinations. He had a thesis that the Blackbird was actually just a decoy to get people not to understand how good we are with space satellites. And so, like, this was in the '60s. They made a camera on a satellite that could get a 2-foot resolution from space. Like, that was in the '60s. That's crazy to me. Like, you could see from 2 feet resolution from the ground in space. So that was really incredible. What else we got? Let's see. Chat GPT plugins. I have yet to get them. Nvidia went on an absolute screamer over $1 trillion company. Missed that bet.
What's it called?
Nvidia, the graphics company. They make GPUs, CPUs. Absolutely exploded, and it was the easiest thesis in the world. This is not investment advice, but for AI to work well, you need three things. You need a fuck ton or a crap ton of data. You need a model to train, and then you need a ton of compute to train that model. And so, what does Nvidia do? They are the biggest processors on the planet. I'm not a big Alex Earl person. I'm old, so I don't really know who she is, but she's an absolute like essentially like TikTok celebrity. There's a really crazy thing with Airbnb. She got rugged. She went to Italy, and the house she rented on like Booking.com or whatever that site was fake. She got scammed. Airbnb saw this on the social channels and put her up in a villa, and they got like just a bazillion. I mean, so much brand recognition because she was just posting so happy about, hey, Airbnb hooked me up, blah blah blah. So that's something where if you don't have your social listening in place, pick your tool, but definitely really really important for that. What else do I got? The Yellowstone guys making a ton of money. I don't know if you guys follow Yellowstone at all, but it's actually this one dude. He's an ex-cowboy. And he has $1 billion ranch, and he just rugs the studios because it's such a monster. Like it's basically drives, I think, upwards of 80% of subscribers to Paramount Plus, which is pretty incredible. Some Ferrari stuff.
Meaning like he leases out his land for filming?
Oh, so he has like $1 billion ranch. They film on the ranch. They charge him like $200K a day to train these soft ass Hollywood people into like he's like a proper cowboy. Train him up for a cowboy, rents his horses like 50K. Like, just absolutely rugging them, and they can't do anything about it because he's just the cash cow for Paramount Plus. Like it's the I mean, anybody that is in the Yellowstone knows it's like almost like a Succession kind of rabid fan base. Speaking of Succession, I'll wrap up on this. Where did I have that? The like season finale was around 3 million people. I think 3 or 4 million people watched all at one time. If you look back at like actually the biggest season finales, like MASH, Seinfeld, Cheers are all up there. They're upwards of 90, 100 million. And I think it's a really interesting cultural data point because there used to be a bit of a, almost like a proper zeitgeist. Like everybody was involved with the same thing. And now it's a bit more fractured where you see Succession as an absolute runaway success, but it's still in bubbles. So I think that was interesting. What else you got?
One of the best finales ever.
It's great. I think Breaking Bad, no spoilers, please. But I think Breaking Bad was still, oh, yeah, Matt, I totally forgot. There's a really cool, the autofill with Adobe Photoshop is crazy. Where'd I put that? They did the generative fill for all the memes, which was pretty crazy. I think I have that there. What else?
Oh, a really good one that was on YouTube where if you have any vertical photos, like verticalized photos that you want to make into like homepage heroes for your website, he was like uploading the vertical photo and then telling it the new space. And like, it was really good. Like it quite literally made a background that he said looked exactly like if he had done a wide shot, what it will look like.
I forget what I had. I had to submit a headshot for something. And I ended up doing one of those little AI headshot things. One, I don't know what kind of narcissistic people have 25 photo. Like I'm either always wearing earbuds or sunglasses in all my selfies. So it took me like an hour to find because you have to like train down like 25 minimum photos. So that was a whole labor of love. And I had to go back like into the depths to do that. So bringing up all this old trauma, but the output was actually fantastic. I was actually pretty impressed with the output. And then the last thing I will add in, and we'll wrap up and toss it over to you, Logan, is Lenny did a really great podcast with this is probably something up your alley. I'll send to you as well, Logan, with the product team at Notion on how they build, how they iterate, how they everything there. So it's pretty amazing. Always unbelievable. This guy, you never lose, do you? I hate him. He's tall, he's sexy, he's smart, has amazing partner, beautiful kids. Unbelievable. Are you going to spill the tea or no? You're not going to let the people know? You're going to keep it your secret?
They don't have them anymore, but I used to get them from Society 6.
Oh yeah. Great site. Sorry, Robert. We'll see if we can't find something on StockX for you. Okay. Or the eBays. Okay, rambling done. Logan, the stage is yours. Let the people know what the whale is doing, how it's spreading the fins.
Let's do it. Yeah, we're swimming. So I think the two biggest ones that I'd like to go over, and then if Faraba and Sandra have other things we want to talk about, I think the biggest launches that we had, benchmarks came back. So I don't know if you've been around the app for a while. We had some benchmarks, and we brought them back and even added more benchmarks, which is great. And then we launched Activity Feed, which is also kind of a relaunch. but you have to be a real OG to know what activity feed is. Well, we brought that back. So let me share my screen. And I'll go over benchmarks, and I'll actually go over a real use case that hopefully this is what you can see. Yeah, dope. All right. So what you can do is hop in here. You got a summary page, and don't worry about all these other ones. Maybe that's some other tea that I can spill in a little bit. I don't know. AJ might get mad at me. These are custom dashboards that you can build through Willy. Not yet live for the public, but they're pretty cool. So anyway, go to summary. You'll see home, activity feed, and benchmarks. So click on benchmarks. And the way we built this was that we're using aggregate data across all triple whale stores that have opted in. Basically, if you've provided us with your industry, we opt you in, but everybody is anonymous. And then we ensure that any cohort that's being filtered has at least, I think there's like a minimum of 40 or 50 shops that we have per cohort. So that way you can't really go in and try to spy on one individual. And we have like anomaly detection that ensures that, let's say there's $100 million store that's in here, that wouldn't drive up a metric one way or the other. So we're just doing some interesting things there to make sure this is as useful, tactical, it makes sense for your store, right? So you can use it. And by changing the date range, you're actually changing, this may sound intuitive, but we weren't doing this before with benchmarks. If you change the date range, it's actually changing all the underlying data for these metrics. So that's if you log in and you just see today, that's when things will likely look a little wildly off, because you have some stores that have already finished their day, like it's tomorrow. And then you have other stores where they're in the middle of their day and they could be spending a lot and they haven't made their revenue yet. But as you expand this out to like the last 7 days, you should see things, even out a bit. And this will help you though, if you want to look at I think we're fairly close to intraday. Maybe you'd have to look at maybe just as maybe a couple hours back, but if CPMs go wild on Facebook, if click-through rates kind of crazy or bad, you should be able to kind of review here. And one of the things that we did yesterday is I was talking with a colleague that manages a store, and they were really struggling with whether or not the agency was doing a good job at driving Facebook traffic. And they're trying to understand, is it Facebook ads problem, or is this a conversion problem on the site? And so one of the first things we did was just analyze things like the visitors and sessions that are being driven by the pixel, but also what is the click-through rate, the CPM, cost per click from Facebook itself, to ensure that one, you're driving efficient visitors to the site at a rate that's either at the industry standard or above. And so we kind of came here to better understand from the benchmark standpoint, is the agency doing a good job of driving traffic to your site at an efficient rate? So that's what we're doing.
I love it. And I'd love to hear your answer, Sonder, or your pontification, Logan. I'm not a huge benchmarks guy for day of. I really like to look benchmarks at least last 7 or something to see. There's just so much volatility in the day to day. But maybe I'm off on that. Do you find it useful to look at benchmarks daily, or I feel like there's too much volatility in the system to get something where it's I kind of want to know my last 7, am I in range, out of range, etc. What's your guys' take on that?
Yeah, I think I'd tend to agree with you. I think the only exception might be sales days, so where there might be a little bit more urgency. But even then, I probably want to rely more on yesterday, and see what happened yesterday versus today.
Yeah, that's kind of where I get to, where it's almost like this lagging indicator to make sure that I'm just not 2 standard deviations or something like that away from what's actually going on in the negative or something like that. Do you have a take on that, Logan?
Well, I think in general, you're right. I could see some use cases there if you're looking at the specific ad channels here and trying to understand, is today wildly off for you or for everyone? That kind of thing. If everything was in a perfect world and we had that big Facebook snafu, or if Facebook's going crazy with CPMs, you wouldn't need to go to Twitter and say, hey, are CPMs crazy for everybody today? Just come here. And we have, not all Shopify, but thousands of stores as data points.
That's actually fair pushback. Okay, maybe I'm cool into that. Lucas Dip, first off, phenomenal name. Is return rate also included? What are you referring to, Lucas? Are you guys tracking what he's asking?
I think he's just
Probably
asking,
in the
is return rate like a benchmark they can look at?
Tracking. That's interesting. I didn't think of that.
I mean, I think there's a lot of things we can
In
and will
apparel in specific, or like clothing in specific. It's a. I was talking at that New York conference. Ben Yahalem, the True Classics president, awesome human, was talking about that, and that's one of the reasons, Logan, that he built it into the average contribution margin per order, is because when people buy different pieces of apparel. So, for example, when people buy jeans, people buy 3 jeans, but they'll do it kind of like Zappos style, where they want to get the right fit, and then they pick the one that fits them, and then they return the 2. And so he has these different return rates per order because by that thing. So that's actually pretty interesting.
No, it's super interesting, and I even remember specifically back in the Chubbies days that they were all men's, and they had a specific return rate they knew from shorts and shirts. And then as soon as they jumped into women's, I think the return rate for women's items doubled. And it's because the women will buy both sizes
Yep.
to try them on. And so it's like a little wild, but yeah.
Okay, that's amazing.
But I think we're going to add more here. The classic tale of this sounds great from not only a product standpoint, from a marketing standpoint, and like the product team, is that we always have to try to figure out how deep we want to go. And the 2 things I always hear whenever we release a product is, when is this next metric going to be available? And when can I dive deeper? Right. So as soon as I make return rate available, someone's going to want to know, oh, well, how does it differ between men's products and women's products? How does it differ between people who sell shirts and shorts, or pants or athletic wear? And these are all great questions. It's just that you can get like buried deep and just like continuing to build down and down through a product. And so right now we just wanted to focus on really overall health of the business, ROAS, NC NCPA, and then just give you like our 2 most popular ad platforms with Facebook and Google. So you could try to measure against those out of the gate.
Yeah, really well said. Yeah, Jennifer, that's one of the, I think, biggest takeaways from benchmarks is you can give the stakeholders or your clients a better picture in terms of the macro economics and what's going on, not only macro, but also in your vertical, in your run rate, in your AOV. Ollie, fantastic question. I popped that in there. What else we got, Logan?
No, I mean, I think we could come back to Jennifer's thing. I think the discussion I had yesterday could bring up an interesting insight for us, or like a tactical like strategy I was thinking of. We could share that. But if we want to bebop around a little bit and come back to it later, we can. And we can come back to Ollie's question too if we want to show some things off. But however you want to structure the call.
Let's do some questions first, and then we can keep pushing through those, because I think some of the questions might take you through some of the app, because I do want to see the new cohorts is live, right, or not yet?
Yeah. You want to look at so computer cohorts next.
What are you feeling, Sonder?
I think cohorts would be good. We've got a couple questions on it.
Okay. Yeah, choose your fighter. Let's go cohorts. Let's do a quick interlude here. So actually go through cohorts, and we'll do some wrap up stuff, because I do want to touch on some things and get your guys' take on some of the data that I presented at the Commerce Summit and Geek Out. Ooh, that is sexy. Okay, go first.
I mean, really what this got was, oh, hold on, it's kind of freezing up on me. It's been doing that when I share my screen recently. I don't know if it's because I have so many, it's also trying to do it by day.
You see the risks we take for you people, live demos, and we're out here still just hustling, getting through the grind.
Sorry, defaulted by.
Also, I owe people merch, so if you haven't gotten your merch, it's because I haven't sent it. I'm sorry. I'll do it right when I get off the call. I've been buried in sick and traveling, but that sound you hear is the excuse Rolodex. I'll get it done. All
right, and Sonder, you may need to minimize your question just so we can look, because I think it's covering up some of the app. Or maybe I can do it like that. There we go. Sorry, I'm seeing my screen and I see the question overlaid on it.
Is that better?
I think it's okay right now. Really what this isn't my world. I love this world, but we have a great product manager who's owning insights. And this is like the big first step that they wanted to take, was just ensuring this page was up to snuff with the rest of the app and it needed some love. I mean, mainly aesthetically, but we were hoping that some of these aesthetic changes were also UX changes. So there's a difference between UI, like how something looks, and then UX, which is the user's experience within the feature itself and how accessible certain pieces of the feature are. And so we kind of moved some things that were very right aligned all the way over here to the left so that you could do all sort of toggles in one space. And then changed up our color scheme a bit. And then the reason we have like this historical data and this kind of key is that soon this key will change from white to blue to green all the way across. And what green will mean is we're going to be able to predict out what we think LTV is going to be for your cohorts most recently. Ooh. So if you want to look at 12 months, we can look at the makeup of customers that came in December and then give you an outlook to month 12 on that cohort using predictions. So predictions are coming next, which will be fun. But a lot of the same functionality that was here is here still. We just kind of changed up where or how you kind of select things and move them all into one place.
Amazing. Is everybody hip to how cohorts work? Should we give like just a 30-second primer, or is everybody good here? Going once.
Give a primer, Rabba.
Give
him your draft analogy.
The draft, yeah, that lands, right? Yeah. So easy way to think of cohorts. Again, we try and keep as much sporty ball out of this as possible, even though Miami Heat is a client and they went to the finals. Let's go, Jimmy Buckets. So an easy way to think of cohorting is essentially just an analysis strategy framework. What you're doing is you're putting people into buckets, but instead of thinking of like that, what you can think of is when that customer gets drafted, they can only score for that team. They can't ever leave that team. And those are essentially the two biggest things. They can only score for that team and they can't leave that team. And that team being right now, Logan has it broken down by month. You can break it down by week, by day. The reason that's important is because you can see how your customer manifests throughout the lifetime, whether if you have longer purchase cycles or, for example, Sonder ran a Black Friday, Cyber Monday sale for one of his businesses, and he wants to see, are those people actually worthwhile to acquire? Because do they spend more money in a year, 2 years, etc.? And so it really is the gold standard, in my opinion. If you are going to buy off of LTV, you really want to be doing a cohort analysis. There's also some other use cases in here where using this cumulative LTV, you can use this to guide your acquisition intensity when you're planning out your quarterly or annual budgets, where for example, what's my 6-month LTV? So month 0 would be month 1. So you'd look at like month 5, and then you can, if Logan scrolls down, you can actually see the account averages at the bottom, and then you can reference those account averages to say, hey, for example, like December is a really great acquisition month, but these other things. So and then the other thing that is also really interesting here is just looking at this, you can instantly see this business has not only a repeat purchase rate, but I mean, LTV is a function of repeat purchase rate. This is essentially an AOV business. Like when people start to what people actually LTV in, there's not a lot there. So there's two things you can derive from that. One, is that just the business model they have and I need to get as much money as possible on the first purchase? Or 2, is there better retention plays where my email isn't really slapping or things of that nature? And so you can start to coalesce a strategy around the data.
Yep. That's great. Very good. And Rick Morrison just brought up something in the chat that's good. I think, I'm not sure if this was Sonder's original rule of thumb or if it came from Rabba, but I really like it. It's that you want to try to
always trying to give me credit. I love you, Logan.
I don't know whose it was, but I heard it from Sonder. That's where it's in my head. But anyway, it's a 30% increase of LTV within 3 months. And that's where like LTV 60/90 can be helpful, like just to visualize the increase. But you could do the math as well, just by taking month 3 minus month 1 divided by month 1. But LTV 60/90 will also kind of show you that stat right out of the gate. And we're going to be kind of reworking this a bit too, just to make it easier. Like I think the date ranges are confusing. And but anyway, all this stuff is kind of being reworked because they're very OG products that we'd like to bring back up to the level of sophistication as the rest of the app.
Yeah, I love that. The other cool thing, if you want to pop back into cohorts, if you are a business that buys into the future where you know, hey, I can spend up to X amount of dollars on my customers because I know I'm going to get Y amount of dollars out of them, we actually have this cool little toggle called new customer payback. And what that'll show you is actually when you will break even on the cohort, or when that cohort will actually break even compared to the new customer CPA. And so that's something that's pretty cool if you are in that category of being in the red for the first purchase, but you want to make sure that you know you're going to get the money back in 3, 6, 9 months or whatever. That little NCPA payback toggle will highlight the cohort on which will break even. Oh, it's all good, Rick. Sonder beats me at everything. I'm used to it. What else do we got? I love the chat. It's such a vibrant. Feels good to be back. Feels good to be back.
The only other things I'd point out on this section,
Yep.
just real quick, is right now Logan's looking at LTV. You can switch it to number of customers if you want to see your repeat customers by subsequent months. I think can be helpful. The percentage will give you a breakdown of that repeat purchase rate by month, which will add up to your cumulative one. The other cool thing here, and this kind of gets to our next question, is from Ollie. But just which cohorts have. So we have different segments that we can create through the SCDP.
Ooh.
Oh, this is filters. This isn't even what I was referring to.
Well, you could look at it here. Yeah. Like purchase from Facebook.
Are these pre-built or you have to build them?
Some of these are already built, like loyal, core, newbies. All these come from the SCDP, the AI ones. So those are built, but then everything else is stuff that's been built through.
Will you nuke that little header bar, Logan? It's taking up a ton of space.
Got it.
Thank you. Ooh, that's sexy, Sonder. Sorry, I didn't mean to mess up your flow. Keep going. That's awesome. I didn't even realize that.
No, I mean, I think this is it. I mean, just keep in mind when you're looking at this, we didn't see a big dip in the NCPA costs, but that's because the specific brand primarily spends on Facebook.
Right.
If you're a brand that spends a lot on Google and other channels, your purchasers from Facebook, you're just going to see a big increase to your NCPA, which makes sense because we're looking at your total ad spend, and now we're only looking at a fraction of your customers from Facebook. So I wouldn't pay as much attention to the NCPA and those things, more just number of customers, repeat purchase rate, LTV growth, those types of things.
And also, I just want to highlight something. Make sure if you're doing any percentage stuff, if you do have cumulative turned on, it will have over 100%. Like you technically can't have more than 100% retention rate. But because Logan has the cumulative checked, you're going to have over 100. Logan actually likes to do the weird math in his head. I prefer it not checked. It's the same, but different. But just a little, when I was playing around with that, I was like, wait a second, the math doesn't math. It actually maths. It's just very confusing because again, you can't have more than 100% retention rate. So
the reason I like it this way is that you can see the full retention or the full repeat purchase rate. So you see, I mean, it's just looking at it differently. It's 13.73. You can find out how long it took you to reach that, right? So it took you basically to month 5 to get to that rate.
Yeah.
See what I'm saying?
Yep.
Interesting. And if you do it the other way, can I derive
it? The other way, you got to add up each row.
You got them in your
right?
brain.
I got to add this, and I got to add that, and I got to add that, and I got to add that. I don't want to do that.
Man, now Logan's showing me up. I better make sure I don't get voted off the island here. Yeah, speaking of, can I take a small digression? I was watching a funny podcast, and some guy was telling me that, or he was telling the story, but he had a friend that put like 25 people that knew each other into a group text and ran like a Survivor style, and they had like kicked people out of the group text and stuff like that. Anyways, it just reminded me. He said it was like the craziest experience ever, and like real friendships were actually like lost. People were like calling each other back. Anyways, channeling.
Backdoor deals.
But yeah, exactly. You say I got to distract away from my inefficiencies at all this marketing stuff. Logan and Sonder are over here carrying the burden. This is incredible, Logan. I really love it. Sonder, great call out on the segments, and that retention rate, sensational. What does breakdown mean? I haven't actually played with the breakdown by.
I think you can only choose first order right now, but there'll be other ways to do this. So imagine breaking this down by product, and then product equals X.
Can't I do that now with the filter, or no? Is that still not there
Yeah,
yet?
it could just be pre-done breakdowns.
Tracking.
Right.
Amazing.
But yes, you can do some with filters, I believe. So you create a filter for product. Yeah, products, product name is whatever.
Let's do one more question on cohorts from Lucas, and then if anybody else has some other ones, if not, we'll move on. Amazing. Oh man, Saunders.
There's also the other thing. Oh, sorry, Rob. But just one more thing to note here too. That's cool about breaking like the breakdowns is that you don't always have to cohort people by month acquired. You can cohort them by first product ordered, and this entire list could become products. Here's how many people bought them. Here's the repeat purchase rate for them. Here's the new customer.
Interesting. I did not know this.
LTV.
So how would I do that instead of?
Well, you can't do it now, but you can.
Oh, but that's coming.
That's like what breakdown.
That's fascinating.
Like, yeah,
that's fascinating. Yeah. Okay, from our man Lucas. What are your thoughts on when cohort analysis becomes statistically relevant and therefore a useful metric? So at which amount of orders per day approximately? What would I do here? I mean, I wouldn't really think of it through the lens of statistically relevant. I would just more so use it. It's just how would I put this? The highest fidelity you're going to see into your customers is through cohorting. And so there's not necessarily, I mean, if you have like 5 or 6 customers, it's, there's no point in doing cohorting, just focus on growth. So there's definitely, I get the impetus for the question. I guess I just don't have a really great answer other than like, you kind of know when you know where there's enough data there. Maybe Sandra or Logan, you guys can give a better answer.
Yeah, I would say to me, it probably matters more how long the business has been around and how many months worth of data you have versus
that's well put.
Right. You want trends, or you want to be able to see like I can see here that like month 5 seems to be a troublesome spot, right?
That's
After
really
month 5, there's no repeat purchases. So like you may tactically set up a flow that triggers at month 5 since sign up or first order date. And I may offer them a promo code to come back and see if later on that cohort starts to see a higher repeat purchase rate in month 6, 7, 8 because of the flow that I have in place.
That's really well put. I like that. That's a way better answer. Lucas, these are great questions. Hit me up at Raba. I'm putting it in with your address and size, and let's get you dripped out in some whaleware. Any other questions? Toss them in the chat or in the questions box about cohorts. We'll do another 5 or 6 seconds because we actually have a ton of questions and we need to pick up the pace a bit.
Nice.
Okay, amazing. We'll call this on cohorts. Sonder has an incredible cohorts video on Triple L University if you want to check that out. I believe when you log into the page, that's what it links to. So moving on to the activity feed.
My whale is swimming.
Oh, amazing. Sick animations. Answered. Oh, we're actually not in a terrible place.
Nice. Run all. Add some of these to the table. So you guys can see what that looks like. Once the table decides to load. What do we call this? Live demos. Always a problem.
It's living on the edge, baby. Sometimes you just got to feel alive and do a live demo.
Yep. So anyway, I'll look at this Pearson correlation. Pretty fun, right? So the fun stuff about activity feed is kind of less about the graph, but the graph is actually one of the features that people love the most. So if you haven't played around with activity feed yet, go to your summary page, click here, and then activity feed. And the one thing we wanted to bring together was a list of all activities, like the most important activities happening in your store or across your ecosystem. So Facebook ads created, Facebook budget changes that are happening, products going out of stock, products coming back in stock, Klaviyo emails being sent. These are like key activities that can make or break a store or really change the trajectory, right? And when you see a spike, the biggest questions we were asking ourselves sometimes is like, whoa, what happened that day? There's a big spike in revenue. Well, come to the activity feed and try to look through your activities to determine what could have correlated to that spike. Was a Klaviyo email sent? Did a product come back in stock? And one thing I used to deal with a lot from my boss, and even I just didn't have great automations set up, I don't think, in Slack, but our 3PL would receive goods, and they pretty much had the go ahead that if it was a product that was already in stock or we had set live on Shopify, they would just stock that product in as they had it available.
Yeah.
And then, it'd pop back in, and then we'd have like the back end stock notifications automatically sending out. And I'd be like, what's going on? Like, why is the site popping off? Is this from Facebook? Is this something else, or Klaviyo? And it turns out like one of our best products had just been checked in by the 3PL. And so just being able to kind of see that in
interesting
one
use
space.
case.
Yeah, things like that. But you can come down here and plot these. So if I want to look at that, I can look on the graph and see what these are. And so if I wanted to correlate Facebook ad updated with sales or with spend, you can kind of see that here on the graph. And then if you want to filter your activities, you can actually come here and change this to like an individual service: Facebook, Google, TikTok, all of these, which is great. And you can even look up, like if I wanted to understand ad set budget changes, I could do update and budget and only look at those, right? And then if I want to create an activity, let's say that I had updated something on the site to affect conversion rate, I could actually go in here and backfill and say on the 28th, updated upsell offer on landing page. I may say triplewhale.com/upsell. Sorry, upsell lander, right? Changed. I'll create the activity. Let's put a time on it of, let's say I did it at 9 a.m. I'll create the activity. And then what I can do is go back to I'll have to get rid of my filter now. Let's go back to just the custom activities. And I got my updated landing page offer. And so now I can see here, oh, look, my uptick on the sales started to go up. Looks like my update to the landing page might have made some impact.
Look at that powerful upsell. I think for me, I would have loved this in terms of an agency. I used to do like all this craziness in Data Studio, blah, 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 blah. This is just so much easier. And so you guys can plot like when you're launching emails or when you came on board or things of that nature to really show the efficacy, because graphs are incredible deliverables and you can show these things tracking. The other thing that Logan pointed out, without knowing what a fancy Pearson correlation coefficient is, all that nonsense. Basically, if the lines track each other, it's a good thing, or that's what you can call a correlation. And so something that I've been really interested in is basically blended ad spend or even channel ad spend by like Facebook, etc. And then you're plotting your new customer revenue. So you can really see if you're driving incremental sales from your ads versus just, I don't want to say fake sales, but ideally you're not spending a big or significant portion of your paid media on reactivating people as opposed to getting new people into the fold. So that has been something that has been pretty interesting to see there. So let's see what we got. New customer sales, Facebook ad spend. So ish, not as lined up as you'd want it to be. So there's definitely probably some meat on the bone in this ad account or some restructuring. But this has been something I've been super excited about for a really long time. Yeah, do you want to touch on the normalization versus denormalized real quick, and then we can move on to a couple more questions?
Yeah, I think this is something that we actually dealt with a lot with the original activity feed. If anybody's an OG in here, I'm going to go ahead and tell Robbo to send you some swag, because if you remember the first one, then you're real
Let's
OG.
go. Who's out there? Who's out there?
But we used to, in some of the other graphs in AAA, you'll notice they kind of have either, like in Creative Cockpit, we'll have two different axes.
Yeah.
And so let's say you wanted to analyze something like Facebook spend and ROAS. Facebook spend could be anywhere from $10,000 to $50,000, where ROAS is like on a very small scale. It's like 1 to 4, 1 to 5, whatever. So what denormalized helps with is, or denormalized will put things on their own scale. So you can see here that 1,000 is about double of 500, which is what they spent. Now, if I normalize it, though, you actually get to see these trends together, how they kind of go closer. Like, it's really about trend analysis. And so if I add ROAS here for a moment, that'll be the best way to show you. If I Facebook ROAS versus spend, right now you can see them kind of trend together, right? So we kind of bunch them so that you can see how they're moving. If I were to denormalize it, it's like a flat line, right? It's not really a flat line, but it is because we've put it on one axis and it's the highest axis available. So it's better to use normalized if you're looking at data points that are really far apart from each other on different axes. And if you want to compare similar metrics, Facebook sales to Shopify sales, that's where I would go the denormalized route because they're closer and they're closely aligned.
Amazing.
Makes sense?
Amazing. Yeah, it makes tons of sense.
And this is pretty easy, but if you would prefer to look at it in curved lines, you can look at it in curved lines if you prefer that prettiness.
I love it. Yashan, great question. I will get to that in a second. This is amazing though, Logan. I'm really excited. Does anybody have any other questions about their activity feed? Anything else to add, Sandra? Are you using it in any other cool, crazy, clever ways that we don't even know about?
I used it with a client today. I think some ways that I like to use it is looking kind of at like the pixel all section. You can start to come up with some hypotheses, and then I think this is a good way to come in and see if you can correlate any of that data to match up and to line up. So we did actually go from normalized to denormalized in that example because we were looking at ad spend and revenue, and so it was like throwing them off initially looking at a normalized view. But yeah, so I think it's good to just like see if, you know, when you see increases to Facebook or Google spend, how does that correlate to an increase in Amazon and Shopify revenue? I think those are kind of more, what I've been using it for recently.
Amazing. I love it. Toss any questions about activity feed in the chat. Let's do Yashan's question. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. And then we'll do a little bit of a rapid fire through that. Are you tidied up, Logan? Is there anything else you want to add on the activity feed?
No, it's great. Should I stop sharing for now?
Yeah. Let's put our big mugs on there. Okay. Yashan, who had some really interesting thoughts on return stuff. The other thing I would also add about returns is I would be very wary of looking at them in short date ranges because I've had clients that batch the returns. And so they'll do all the returns on a Friday or something like that. And that just blows everything up where you're like, oh my God, everybody's returning product. And it's not, it's a operational decision where it's just easy to, they had one day where they just allotted for returns. They handled all the returns. It hits the account. So that would be my only thing in terms of when analyzing your returns. Make sure you kind of do it on a longer date range, or you know when that return day is if your client does that, because it's actually fairly common. Okay, new customer related metrics are off for us since we mostly run Meta website and shop. I think T-Dub can't recognize whether a Meta shop customer is new or not. I think that's actually accurate. There's some fuzzy stuff when they come from a shop. Is this something that you guys are looking to fix in the future? And if so, any ETA? Fantastic question, Yashan. All right, Logan, what you got?
Yeah, it's definitely a known. It's not really a bug. It's unfortunate that we don't. Here's the product problem. When Facebook tells us that that an order happened from Meta Shop, they send that order to Shopify. So we do know if it's new or returning. What we can't do in that instance is tell you how many of those new or returning came from any given campaign ad set or ad. Because Facebook tells us through the API, this is how many customers ordered from this campaign ad set and ad from Meta Shop. But the order is also going over to Shopify, and they're just saying, great, Meta Shop orders as a channel equate to this much revenue and this many new versus returning customers. But they're not. Does that kind of make sense to you guys? How that's they're they're living separately from each other.
Correct.
So on one side, I think we need to do a better job of displaying just how many new customers are being acquired from Meta Shop in the pixel. It's just we've struggled so far with how do we display that without giving you attribution, because we can't tell you what campaign ad set or ad it came from, and that could be troublesome for you. I don't know, Sandra, have you bumped into this a lot with some of your clients?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it happens a lot. And I think with the uptick as well to Meta Shops right now, I think it's happening a little bit more. I mean, my understanding is if Facebook were to send us through the API name, email, phone number, then all of a sudden we're a third-party pixel, right? And so us being like a first-party pixel, we kind of have to have like some level of discrepancy. Now, I think maybe through a CAPI, there might be a way to like incognito it, or to what you're saying, Logan, if we could because we do show you on the pixel section when you click into purchases or conversion value, how many are view through conversions and how many are the meta shop purchases at the
Facebook just doesn't
level.
tell us which of those purchases belongs to that campaign ad set and ad.
Yeah.
Right. So we know the email address. Yeah, it's just
sticky.
Yeah, it's a sticky situation.
I mean,
Yeah.
I think honestly, it just will hopefully come with more technology switches, hopefully, I think. But I don't know.
And I think for now too, while we're working on this, use the activity feed to measure Facebook spend against the new customer purchases.
Yeah.
I know that's a big blend of data, but you want to, and I think also, I hate to tell you to move away from to go to Shopify to look for something, but if you can analyze the meta shop data from Shopify against new returning customers, overall, just make sure that's a really heavy split to new. That's what I would hope to see.
Yeah.
Is that meta shop is driving the new. If you see that meta shop is like 50-50 new and returning, maybe meta shop is not doing its justice at bringing you new customers, and instead they're going after returning. But
yeah, the other thing I would also keep an eye on, and this was, I believe, Kenny, who's not on today. I can't believe Kenny Ride Society. I got to meet him in person in LA. It was great.
Kenny's on.
Oh, there he is. He what are you quiet? What's going on? The one day I don't wear a Right Society shirt and I don't get any Kenny love. Unbelievable. Fantastic year. The points that he was bringing up though was with the shops, you lose a lot of functionality as well. So there's no cross sells, there's no upsells, there's no free shipping things, there's no gift with purchase, and so not a horrible experience, but I would definitely, if you're metering traffic to each and or, be cognizant of the AOVs coming through there, because you might be getting got because if you have a strong upsell process like a True Classics or something like that, it's just super dialed in. They would lose so much money going straight to shops because you don't have that custom experience that you can build on Shopify. Fantastic question. All right, good stuff, Yashan. What else we got? Okay, let's do a little rapid fire. Dun, 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 dun. Okay. Hi. Is fashion's vertical ROAS generally higher than others? Is peer ROAS skewed by costs off platform? I don't know what the second means. For the first, I can pull up some data here. Let's see. So we have fashion accessories and clothing. So I don't know which one you're referring to, but fashion accessories, new customer ROAS is about, for the last year, about 2.4, and the MER is about 3.4. So not a ton of, pretty efficient to get people in. It's kind of the middle of the pack. But in terms of effectiveness, a 3.4 isn't necessarily the best. That's fashion accessories. Now, if you go to clothing, you're talking a 2.8, so a little bit healthier in terms of new customer ROAS, and then a really healthy 4.8 in terms of effectiveness. So once you get people into some clothing they like, it's a pretty great business. If anybody's in the chat that asked this question, and you need some elaboration, just let us know. Do you guys have anything else to add?
Well, I mean, I guess the one thing is this person can go into the benchmarks and actually play with the industries. So yeah, right offhand, I'm not sure if it's generally higher than others, but you can just play around with the different industries and see how it changes.
I'm looking at the data, and it's in the middle of the pack. It's like a 2.4, and the average is around 2.8, and so it's literally middle of the road in terms of new customer ROAS. And again, this is fashion accessories, and then it's on the lower end of MER. But if it's clothing, because I don't know, like fashion can be, I don't know what they mean by fashion. But if it's a clothing, like an apparel brand or clothing, a much higher NC ROAS at a 2.8 and a much higher, healthier MER at a 4.8.
Yeah, Sean is saying that peer ROAS.
Oh, clothing. Yeah, clothing, Yashan. So the clothing is a 2.8 NC ROAS and then a 4.8 MER. So that's kind of what I would be shooting for, give or take around there. And then you're looking at around $137, so $137 AOV across the industry.
Yeah, and hopefully we're saying his name right, but Yashan, pay attention to returning customer revenue and repeat purchase rate, because MER is definitely going to be impacted by whether or not you're bringing customers back at a healthy rate. When we were kind of growth mode, oh, go ahead, Rob. Sorry.
Oh, no, I was just going to add just to his question. We are bringing in POAS. We're getting our data together, and that would give you the gross profit, which would have the COGS built in, Yashan. So hold tight for that, but that is coming soon. I don't know if it's coming into benchmarks, but it's definitely coming into the I have a big data, or I guess we're fancy now, a Looker dashboard that has all these aggregated data with all the shops extracted away just in these categories and macro level. So it's a great question though.
Yeah, and just make sure that, so Sean, like the costs though are not included in a ROAS. Like, I mean, except for the ad cost, but a cost of an actual purchase. I mean, the product is not included. So
that would, yeah, in the POAS metric it would be, but not
yeah.
in the yep. You're tracking. Yep, well said.
So, but yeah, and maybe the other thing too is pure ROAS skewed by cost off platform. We are taking total ad spend from these customers. So if there are folks who aren't uploading custom expenses, like this could be artificially inflated because they haven't logged maybe the cost for the direct mail, or maybe they paid influencers $30,000 that we're not aware of. So that could be possible. Yeah.
Yeah. That's actually a really good point. Great questions. Great questions. Okay. We got to hustle. We got 4 minutes. I'd like to focus on how to integrate other DSPs and Google specific growth opportunities. I'm not super tracking what the question is there. Sonder or Logan, are you guys picking up what they're putting down?
I mean, we don't really integrate, I think, with any other DSPs, right? It's really just Facebook and Google.
What's DSP stand for?
Demand side platform.
Yeah.
Like another one could be like Taboola, maybe, right? So yeah, we're looking into, I think like Taboola is one of them. We're looking into maybe like Mountain, which is like over the top OTT advertising and video.
I got to meet the guy at Tatari. I guess if anybody's looking to get into TV, we're chatting with them. But yeah, so I guess stay in holding now. Maybe use the activity feed, hack some shit together to track kind of some incremental lift on when you launched X, Y, or Z. But it's a good question.
But also if that person's in the chat or watching, like, please, if you click the chat icon in Triple Whale, there's an opportunity there to send us feedback or ideas for integrations. Like, let us know what integrations you need that we don't have already. And we're definitely like compiling all this so we can figure out like the greater impact for all of our stores and what we should be building.
Yeah, absolutely. We have a top tier engineering team that is just chomping at the bit. Okay. 3 more questions. I think we can do it. How to scale spend post 2021? Is FB ad sets learning with 50 purchase still relevant? Bid caps, etc. Sonder, you're deploying a decent amount of paid media. What's your take right now?
I mean, yeah, you still need to get through the learning phase, so that part still is very, very relevant.
Yep.
I don't know. I think it. I've got a couple accounts that have been spending proper numbers for a while, and their consolidated works like super well for them.
Yep.
And then for people that are kind of like, yeah.
Can you pause and just define consolidated? Because I think there's been confusion in the market about consolidating all of your campaigns and ads into one space, like one campaign ad set structure. But the other consolidation definition I've heard is that each product or offer should have its own campaign and ad set structure. That consolidation of product focus. Which one are you describing?
Yes.
Yeah, all of it.
I think honestly, like any consolidated approach can encompass either of those options that Logan brought up, and then you'll usually have like an Advantage Plus running side by side that has like 20% of your overall budget. So yeah, I'd say just consolidated. To define that is more or less you're going very, very broad targeting with whatever you're doing, excluding as many purchaser lists as possible. And then, just trying to really get through that learning phase and really kind of just tell Jesus to take the wheel. Facebook, take the wheel. And just
take the wheel.
Like, I think that's kind of like the biggest thing that's working right now. I think for accounts that are getting off the ground, that's where I'm probably struggling the most, is like understanding how to set that up compared to like some of the bigger accounts. So that to me is kind of the big struggle right now. But
are you lowest cost or bid cap? Nah, I gotcha.
My man.
I tend to just go maximum conversions to start, and then I don't know. I don't want to paint myself in a corner here on the.
You don't want to take a corner of the ring.
I love it. I'll throw my little 2 cents in from the peanut gallery. The best advice I've heard with running Facebook ads is do what the ad account likes. Because I've seen some shit that shouldn't work that does numbers. And so I don't think you need to be dogmatic about it. I personally prefer a consolidated account with actually no creative testing. Like I like to just let the people run, and if the creative beats it and it wins out, awesome, and then move it into a scaling campaign. But I don't like pure creative testing. But again, these are preferences and they're contextual. And so I think there's a lot of gray around that. I love running cost cap campaigns, but again, I like doing it in a sense of like drafting this player that kind of like Al Horford, right? He can still kind of hoop, but he's still kind of older. And then he has to graduate into the scaling campaign, but then you can cost cap that. So I think there's a lot of ways to run it, but definitely test. And the reason I do prefer consolidated setups is it's just easier to troubleshoot, easier to derive insights from. When you have a lot, 78 campaigns, 300 ad sets, the water can get a little bit muddied there. But really good question. Okay. Oh, Sandy's out again. Amazing.
He's like a 2 p.m. got to run kind of guy.
Every time, right? Okay, let's do 2 more real quick. Oh, how to calculate contribution. I'm guessing how to calculate contribution margin per new customer. Is that, I'm guessing? There is a really, this is what I would do.
To show my like scorecard thing I was working on.
Oh yeah. So this is something that, just for the sake of time, this is essentially what you're going to want to do. This is actually a shout out to Taylor Holiday, CTC. They have this really good unit economics calculator. And ultimately, what you're going to want to do is just exclude all that cost of delivery stuff, and that'll get you your average contribution margin. We can maybe go into it next time, but it's a little bit meatier of a subject than to kind of just once over it. But and maybe you and I, or one of us, can make just a really quick walkthrough of how to make it in the custom metric builder. But really good question. I'm guessing you meant contribution margin and the 2 was a typo, but if not, let me know. All right, let's do one more question. And then how to exclude point of sales from Shopify and Triple Whale. So somebody maybe like a Viore or somebody that has not only an online presence, but a retail presence that's also running that retail presence off of the Shopify POS. How would I exclude those sales, Logan?
Yep. So you can actually exclude any channel that is logged in Shopify from the API. So go down the summary page, go to the Shopify section. There is a like triangle, upside down triangle for a filter segment. And then you'll actually want to click the button that says source. The source is the channel. And then you can say does not equal or does not contain. And you'll start typing in the box, just like type P for a second, let it load. And you'll actually see all the options populate from Shopify. And these are all your channels. And select point of sale, POS. Some people use Fair, like FA, like that's a service, and they'll tag it that way as a channel. So whatever you're using there for point of sale, if it's the native Shopify one, it's just POS, I believe. So, and you can just exclude that revenue from there.
Amazing answer, as always. I think we did it, folks. All right. Thank you for sticking with us. Oh, I have a sweet slide deck as well. Ping me on Twitter. We didn't get through the data dump. I'll probably end up doing it again. There's actually there's a Twitter thread I have somewhere on the data. Really cool data. We're going to be doing these more and more and more. We have just first-rate data team that's getting all this amazingness together. Where did I put that? Actually, fill some time with me, Logan, and go ahead and sign off right now, and then I'll find this.
Yeah, guys. So we have the event coming up, Blue Whale Group. If you got an invite to that, make sure you respond to Kevin. That's on June 13th through the 15th, or 14th and 15th. And then Chicago is when, Raba?
Chicago is the last week. It is, when is this? I should know this. It was in the last
While
whale
looking that
mail.
up, make sure, I mean, there's been a ton of awesome podcast content. We have the podcast network. Check YouTube, check Spotify, type in Triple Whale and you can see what we've got going on there. Newsletter's been banging. Make sure you sign up for that. I think that's like one of the best newsletters in direct to consumer right now.
Powerful whale mail.
Yep.
Always
be sending us product feedback. So we want that.
Logan's also on the Twitters. Follow him. Also has an amazing personal passion project for pickleball, Sunday Dink Club. How do they get involved with that?
Sunday Dinking Club.
Dinking. Oh my gosh, I'm over here hustling the wrong name. Unbelievable.
It's all right. Just hit up SundayDinkingClub.com, not to be confused with the drinking club. We also enjoy a beverage, but it's dinking, not drinking.
There you go.
Subscribe.
Rick, you're a legend. Kenny, amazing stuff. What else we got? So let me drop this this is the data dump in here. If you guys want the actual deck, just DM me on Twitter. I'll hit you up with the deck. Like Logan said, we have a fantastic newsletter goes out every Tuesday, Thursday called Whale Mail. You can sign up right at triplewhale.com/whale mail. We have a wonderful podcast called You're Not Your ROAS, fantastic sister show called Ad Spend, and a bunch of other awesome things on the network. You can go to youtube.com/triplewhale if you like to watch your podcast instead of consume them. What else? Yeah. And then be on the lookout. I think next week we're going to do our big launch. So this is kind of a little bit of the spilled tea, but next week we'll have a fun landing page and going over everything. And then if you are on the Twitters or LinkedIn, just ping me or Logan if you ever have any questions, and we'll collate them and then batch answer them in this. I'm 7 minutes over. I'm sorry. Thank you so much for your time. Logan, you're the best. You guys are the best community on the planet. Thank you for triple whaling, and we'll see you guys next week. Bye-bye. We need some